Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. Welcome back to West Lindsey, everybody. There's some wet and wild and windy weather out here today, but hopefully it's calmed down enough for us to have a nice walk around this place. Last time we were in West Rasen. Well, now we're in the second of the Rasens. There's Market Rasen, which we're working our way towards, but between the two, there's Middle Rasen. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. And this video is also sponsored by Jamie's Fitness Studio, based on Low Road, Greyingham, near Curtin in Lindsey. Jamie is one busy lady. Check her out by calling 07906 749 574 or emailing hello@jamies.co.uk. Online membership is available. There's a link to her Facebook page in the description. Jamie's Fitness Studio. Get fit, get happy, get healthy. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Welcome to the second of West Lindsey's 3 Rasens. This is Middle Rasen, which, as the name suggests, sits between the other two. Like West Rasen, it's located on the River Rase and on the A631, although technically speaking it's also the A46, but we'll get to that. Middle Rasen is a little peculiar in terms of how it's made up. The modern village is all one settlement, but historically it was 2. These 2 settlements were called Middle Rasen Drax and Middle Rasen Tupholme. The reason for this was down to their connections to 2 historic religious houses, Drax Priory and Tupholme Abbey. As a result, Middle Rasen had 2 churches. Only one now remains. Middle Rasen had mills, both wind-powered and water-powered. On Mill Lane is a windmill built in 1827, which was still working in the 1920s. Losing its sails by 1931, it was then engine-driven. Still standing as well is the watermill, one of only 3 remaining on the River Rase. The watermill is the only one of the 3 to still have its original workings too. It's still a thriving little village this, but it has lost a lot of its services over the years. There used to be plenty of shops, including 2 butchers, 4 general stores, a post office, a cobbler's and even a bootmaker's. Now there's only 1 shop and a handful of other businesses. So it's an interesting one, that's for sure. Get your boots on, folks, let's go.
So, for what purpose?
We begin on Wilkinson Drive, which is named after John Wilkinson. He founded a charity school in Middle Rasen in 1720. The charity still support the current school. We're at the village's southwestern end. Our first landmarks are the village hall, the playing fields, and their adjoining playground. The village hall is the base for many local clubs and societies, including the West Wolds branch of the University of the Third Age, who meet here once a month. From the hall, there's a long path that skirts the edge of a field with some minor earthworks in it. These are not listed with Historic England, so I've no clue what they are. We emerge onto Church Street close to a very old stone bridge over the River Rase. There's a similar bridge to this on North Street, but that one has been restored. The race flows for 16 miles in total, running from a series of springs known as churn waterheads located on Bully Hill to the north of nearby Tealby. Okay, so our next landmark is pretty obvious. You can see it behind me. That's the Church of St Peter and St Paul. We're going to go and check that out in a moment. Now, little known fact about Middle Rasen, and Nikki, you'll be interested in this. There used to be 2 churches here in this village. That obviously is one of them, and we'll pass the site of the old one in a bit. Its churchyard is still there.
I think I might whip my camera out.
Might you? I hope that's all you're going to whip out. Just before we get to the church, here's the church hall, notable for being the meeting place for the Market Rasen branch of the Lincolnshire Beekeepers Association. Buzzing venue. Grade 2 listed St Peter and St Paul's Church dates from the 12th century originally, although it's had plenty of later alterations and additions. In 1861, it underwent a full restoration by Pearson Bellamy and John Spence Hardy of Lincoln. It was originally dedicated to St Peter only. However, since the demolition of the other church, which we'll get to later, this one has carried both dedications. To mark the millennium, a new clock, a new bell frame, and 3 additional bells were installed here. There's some interesting memorials in the churchyard. This one, for example, is that of a well-travelled family who ended up in places like Detroit, Michigan, and New Zealand, amongst other places. In the porch is the War Memorial. It's a simple tablet which lists the local men who served in both the World Wars. Okay, so a little bit later on we will be seeing the site of the other church here in Middle Rasen. Nikki is currently making her video in this churchyard, the Mrs TVI episode about Middle Rasen and Market Rasen. If you have not seen it, it's going to be linked at the end of this video. Nikki's there grave exploring, you know, the kind of thing Nikki does. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see what else we can find here in Middle Rasen. Middle Rasen Primary School was built in 1875 to replace Wilkinson's Charity School. In 1878 it became a board school, and in 1903 the Middle Rasen Council School. Almost directly opposite is a path across a field. This follows a watercourse, but it's not the River Rase, rather it's Brimmer Beck, which flows from nearby Walesby. However, the two are linked. They merge on the other side of this field. Now, this part will go down in eternal history as one of the funniest moments we've ever had on the channel. We were followed across this field by a flock of sheep. Honestly, there was no need to send a welcome party, guys, really. After wading through some water, we're at Parry's Bridge on the River Rase. If you follow a footpath to the right of this, you'll see Middle Rasen's former watermill. 3 stories high and made of red brick, this was one of 5 watermills that lined the race in the 18th century. This one still retains its wheelhouse. And not far away from the watermill is the site of the other church. Now, Nikki's already in there doing her thing with her camera, so let's go and join her and talk a bit more about this. Halfway down Low Church Road is the former churchyard of Middle Rasen's other church, St Paul's. Now known as God's Acre, it's protected as a wildlife area. St Paul's was the church of Middle Rasen Drax, which took its name from its parent house, Drax Priory in North Yorkshire. Records from 1846 state that it had a nave, a chancel, a south aisle and a western tower, with the probable remains of a demolished north aisle and north chapel. The whole building was demolished in 1860, with parts of its fabric used to restore the Church of St Peter. Now, only the churchyard remains. Although, having said that, there is another building close by which was related, the old vicarage. It's the white cottage that stands opposite the churchyard, and it's thatched too, which instantly gives it a few more brownie points from me. Now known as Loretto Cottage and a listed building, it dates from the 18th century. Okay, so now we've taken a left turn. This is Wood Hill. It's not actually a street, it's kind of like a little footpath with a couple of houses facing it. A bit weird, but there we are. So we're going to use this to get to Gallimore Lane, and then we're going to turn back on ourselves and head sort of down the main road, the A631 next. We've now hit Gallimore Lane. This used to be part of the main road through the centre of Middle Rasen until it was bypassed by a new stretch of the A46. One of the houses along here displays this old whetstone. These were used to sharpen blades. They still exist, but modern ones are much smaller. Gallimore Lane is a dead end now. Where it meets the A46 is a bus stop. Middle Rasen is served by the number 53 between Market Rasen and Lincoln. Now, note here that the captions say A631 and not A46. Technically, this road is both. The two roads follow the same course for a short distance before diverging just after the village. On the corner of Mill Lane is the Methodist Church. Originally a Wesleyan chapel, it was built in 1911 on the site of a former pub called the Brown Cow. It was the third Wesleyan chapel the village has had to its name. Across the road is the local shop, which doubles as the post office. Nicky's found a post box.
King George.
The reign of King George.
Fifth
or sixth? Fifth, there we are.
A small recessed post box.
Yep, right outside the shop. Okay, there's a parish notice board here, Nicky. Do you want to do the honours? Nicky's just going to find the cards somewhere buried within the depth of her bag.
Tack.
There's no blue tack?
No.
Oh, we'll have to improvise here then. Oh, there's a little bit there, look. Oh, there we are. How about that? They must have known we were coming. Okay, we need to turn right here and head up towards the site of the village stocks. I will just mention at this point though, if you go the other way, down Mill Lane, past the Methodist Church, you will come to an old windmill. It's not on the route. I might include a picture of it right now so you can see exactly what it looks like. I know it doesn't have any sails. In fact, I can just see the cap of it in the very far distance. There. No sails, but yeah, there is a mill here in Middle Rasen. Right, let's go and find the site of the village stocks. We need to turn right here. So now we're back on Church Street, which used to be called Chapel Street, by the way. Here's the old village stocks, only used for ornamental purposes these days. On the same green there's a bench which was placed here in 2002 to commemorate the Golden Jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II. And next to the green is Middle Rasen Bowling Club. This is the only remaining outdoor sports club in the village. You can play short mat bowls here too, in the village hall. The road then bends to the right and heads off towards the church. At Heath Court, a small cul-de-sac off the bend, we follow a footpath which links us to the car park of the Nag's Head. This is the only pub in the village and it has two rooms which are served by one bar. There's a bus stop right outside this too. And directly opposite the pub was the site of the former Primitive Methodist Chapel which closed in 1955. It's now a straight walk back to Wilkinson Drive. And there we go, we are completely around Middle Rasen. That's been quite the walk, that one, hasn't it?
Yeah, lots of horses.
Lots of horses, yes. Well, this is an area. It is synonymous with horse racing, and you'll see why when we get to our next one here in West Lindsey.
Definitely, it's a quirky little village. You know, this one. It's yeah. I've been having a look on Rightmove at the property, and I'm thinking, holy moly, the properties in this village are quite expensive, and yes, that's because of the racing element.
That's because of the racing element. Anyway, you'll see why that is a thing in the next episode. But for now, this has been the parish of Middle Rasen, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.